Hello, I am Elchin Jafarov, and I want to start our conference. I would like you to inform you that International Union of Theater Critics was founded at the end of last year by Anara Yerkabay, Lasha Skartishvili, and me, Elchin Jafarov. Our organization implements various international and local projects despite the limited opportunities. I would like to express my special gratitude to such partners of the conference as Azerbaijan State University of Culture and Arts, Kazakh National Academy of Arts named after Georgianov, Shota Rustaveli Theater and Film University, Modern Georgian Theater Research Center, Institute of Literature and Arts named after Awezov, the Institute of Architecture and Arts of Azerbaijan National Academy of Science, Teatro Als web portal, Theater Live electronic archive of Georgian Theater and information portal on air. I would like to thank you everyone who responded to our request, presented reports and their interest to take part, joined us as a listener, and supported us. We had received extremely interesting lectures in a very short time. Unfortunately, it is physically, in terms of time, impossible to listen to all of them during the conference. Therefore, we had to choose and include in the program the most interesting and different reports. However, in any case, all lectures will be published in the electronic digest right after the conference. The concept of international scientific online conference has arisen from requirements of the current situation and quarantine measures. Today, pandemic has become a social phobia and created a point of bifurcation within the theater process. After this point, it would be almost impossible to accurately predict the direction and futures of the process. A lot of myths have already discrowned. The gods got down from theatrical Olympus and settled in social networks. A spectator who used to buy a ticket and flew by plane to Milan for watching La Scala opera's performance in a luxurious tuxedo now can watch the same performance at home, wearing nothing except shorts. Besides, he can follow another video from web bloggers, TikTokers at the same time. Thus, estimated criteria have been confused, and quality and creative levels are not marks of any work's evaluation. The quarantine has affected the theater industry, its aesthetic, thought, and theater criticism. As you can see, literally, we changed big conference halls for 14-inch computer screens. Theater over the world opened their archives during social isolation measures were being taken to prevent the spread of the coronavirus pandemic, and mass events, concerts, performances were being cancelled. While sitting in front of the screen, we had the opportunity to watch the performance that we used to dream about. Azerbaijan theaters also joined the social challenge Stay Home and launched a project called Stay Home, but not without a theater. The online repertoire was compiled in theaters, and performances were began to broadcast via internet resources. Of course, the theater is a living art based on the here and now principle, and the video of the performance can never replace the live communication in the theater. We hope that the threat of the coronavirus will soon end and the normal functioning of theaters will be restored. Because in a big way, it is not a theater, it is like it. The big trouble which has captured the whole world also has put everything, including the future existence of this major theater, under the great doubt. Like you, I have no clear idea of what life and direction in the theater process will be like after quarantine. But I know one thing for sure. After the quarantine, nothing will be the same. Today, we will try to find answers to this question in the reports, speeches, and discussions. I would like to wish success to all participants of the conference, and I want to pass the word to my colleague Marina Vastadze, a theater critic from Georgia. She will moderate the first section of our conference. Please, Marina. Word is yours.
Hello, everyone. Good morning again. I'm very glad to see you at the conference. I'm Doctor of Art, Associated Professor at State University Theater and Cinema, named after Shota Rustaveli, and moderator of your section. Welcome. I am glad to see you at the online International Scientific Conference, Theater Online 2020, organized by the International Union of Theater Critics. And I think the topic of today's discussion will be interesting and informative for all of us. I would like to say thanks to the organizers and the partners of the conference for arranging a conference on this very important topic of us. In total, we have 2 hours. Each speaker is given 8 minutes provided by the reglement, and after participant speech, we will have a discussion. And now we're ready to start. First speaker is Monica Bahanera Diaz from Mexico, expert of culture, theater art factum, and title of her report is Theater Has No Certainties, Reflections from Confinement. Please, Monica.
Thank you. At the conference are also Gilberto Soberanes, is the general director of the company, and Oscar Serrano is an actor and juggler, puppeteer, and musician of Artefactum. This is a reflection of the company regarding the current situation. Have we ever imagined that the lives of 7.7 billion people could be stopped by a flu? The appearance of a disease caused by a microscopic enemy is changing our perception of the world. Now we share the planet with a virus that doesn't not recognize the idea of time, race, classes, or borders, and that made us realize that life is above almost everything that attends at schools and offices, trips abroad, the opening of museums, meeting in churches, and of course, the theatrical coexistence, or what we understood up to now by it, are not priorities to curb fear to extermination. Because of the confinement as a measure of preservation of life, the economic system begins to falter and the visibility of the virus seems like a fiction. We fight against an enemy that we don't see, but that has repercussions on the concrete reality. The French philosopher Jean-Luc Nancy says in Wuhan Soup, a whole civilization is questioned. There is no doubt about it. There is a kind of viral exception, biological, computer, cultural, that pandemic was. However, as the situation turns into a crisis that we have never experienced before, it invites us to preserve the instinct of survival in confinement. Economic tranquility is achieved only if the basic needs are covered, which leaves the artistic community, which at other times seemed to live only on its ideals, on the same plane as the rest of the people with jobs in a fixed position that now carry out their activities from home. In times of emergency, most independent artistic creation structures are in crisis, as the model that support them falls apart. And although the state of exception doesn't stop art, it becomes evident that artists are some outside and others behind the is the ability to
Я
produce
потом как-то перестала. Вчера было прямо агрессивно. Позавчера.
In
Да,
Mexico,
сегодня поменьше, вчера поменьше.
I say that for years had established art as an end to justify the annual budget, and that has eliminated it as a tool, that is, a means for communication between people, that artists need money to satisfy those needs seems to be a fiction. Art is not an essential item, even though there are actors and fictions on the screens constantly being consumed by the majority of the confined population. If there is no artistic object that can be experienced in a given space and time, it does not exist either monetary exchange. On the other hand, the theatrical event, that which requires coexistence, is limited in its forms, and therefore it is more complicated for it to reach people during the pandemic and even without it. Could it be then that this crisis opens our eyes to the need to get closer to the spectators rather than dragging them into the theaters, as if that were the only way that cultural entertainment could take place? The artist is an investigator of the human essence, but also a producer of knowledge of his own time. What we know so far about the operation of culture will be different after this experience, or perhaps we will not realize the need to reconfigure our public policies in order to enhance social life beyond the theater. For even though digital media has been a palliative during the crisis, the need for human contact is essential, and thinking about the viewer's place in the hall of theater is diametrically different from the viewer's place in front of the video. In praxis, the health emergency has given us the ability to see ourselves as a collective body, as a chain whose break in one link becomes the crisis of an entire organism. Seen in biological terms, our artistic production system is not very different. In the first place, economic resources are destined to health services, and on the other hand, there is no way to verify and quantify that art reaches people if they don't reach the halls or congregates. Therefore, the system collapses. The institution in charge of giving sustainability to artistic expressions are questioned. We are asked ourselves, what happens to the official structures when each cell begins to act independently? How are production methods being modified? What happens to the exercise of budgets, testing, and creation processes? Is this the moment when artists realize that it is us who sustain the institutions? Doesn't it become evident that the lack of public comes from an inspired cultural policy that doesn't allow the socialization of spaces dedicated to art? Just as the socialization and democratization of health services has been requested, should we do it with access to culture? Framing the theater institutionally has caused that the generation of something that we call theater for garbage, in which an excessive expense is made to carry out productions that fulfill the minimum number of functions and whose productions are kept in warehouses and they dust for years. The crisis invites us to generate critical thinking about what was good in the normalized world. It allows us to glimpse that the mechanisms of institutional production, although not completely obsolete, are not functioning as a structure. The immense number of calls for artists once they start in confinement are a clear example that they are looking not for a new solutions, but the same ones regardless of the context. The crisis allows us to look at our profession as one capable of bringing amusement, a term demonized by high culture, channeling emotions through the recognition in the other, and analyzing which are the theater tools are that serve to digital media. Why not look at those platforms that claim new way of exploring fictions, microfictions, and theatrically itself? TikTok, Instagram, and the immense amount of memes, GIFs, and emoticons published on Twitter and Facebook are, in our opinion, the product of a new way of creating thought based on representational elements that allow us to give way to collective consciousness. Are we then capable of generating a new theater, one that is not at odds with digitalization, whose language attends to new possibilities, but which in turn is clear about its origin and its particularities?
Monica, sorry, do you have only 1 minute, okay?
Okay. Okay, I'm going to...
Okay,
Bien. Being optimistic, and if we can, as Isaac mentions, implant an ideological virus produced by the critical capacity detonate during confinement, and we achieve that this is the virus of thinking of an alternative society, a society beyond the nation state, a society that updates itself in the forms of solidarity and global cooperation, we could be facing a scenario in which cultural policies would be reevaluated and would not be at the service of artists, but rather of spectators. Because we would stop thinking about the individual and we would see the collective body as that which requires the tools of art to face each of the crises that present themselves to the future. We would be able to generate a theater without adjectives, inclusive in its techniques and also in its possibilities. Thank you.
Thank you, Monica. Thank you very much. Now Mr. Sohail Ahmed Malik from Pakistan, Artistic Director of the Karachi Drama Theater, Circle and Pavilion Interaction Creative Events Group. Now, Mr. Sohail Ahmed Malik will talk about his article. His report title is The Brave New World of Performance Arts.
Thank you. I would like to share the screen with you of what I will be reading, just to give you an idea. Okay, so this is the abstract of my paper, The Brave New World of the Performance Arts. And I'll skip the abstract and come to the question posed vis-a-vis the backdrop of my own mindset or belief system. Over the years, with the outstanding progress of the visual arts and the rapid development of digital platforms and alternative forms of storytelling, I still could never imagine a time when the live interaction between an audience and a performer would ever be anything other than a greater value addition to the world of entertainment. This was something I had convinced myself was an unalterable fact of life. I felt that being a rare commodity, having humans live on stage would always be at a premium, not just in its cost, but also by being a higher priced product across the board, be it music concerts, sporting events, or even theatrical presentations. When drama is performed in front of an audience, there is a living art being recreated on each occasion, because no two audiences are the same. There is a symbiotic chemistry between the players and the spectators. A palpable transference of energy exists between the two, enhancing both the level of enjoyment for those watching and the increased dynamic enthusiasm exhibited by those performing on stage. To my mind, these were irreplaceable experiences that mankind would forever crave. Therefore, my believing that they are a necessity of life became a kind of irrefutable truth for me. Then the unimaginable happened. A pandemic had never been factored into any of our future plans. It was felt that each passing year, life could only get better, with the daily exponential advances in technology increasingly at one's beck and call. These applications or apps would continue facilitating all aspects of our lives. More and more travel, more and more exotic destinations, more and more first-hand exposure to culture in every nook and cranny of the globe. More, and yet more. But all these daydreams, with their insatiable desires and expectations, have suddenly encountered a rude awakening. We are each one of us forced to control our unlimited appetites and need to learn now that sometimes less is actually more, and perhaps a lot more than we deserve anyway. The pandemic has completely transformed our social norms with a kind of sword of Damocles hanging over our heads in the possibility of a second or third wave just around the corner, returning like a scourge. The uncertainty in our lives has acquired an endemic quality. The new standards of social distancing, physical space boundaries, avoidance of close contact or sharing of recycled air conditioning, or even the avoidance of interaction with fittings and fixtures might become permanent features of everyone's life for some time to come. To forestall the vagaries of such a dire fate, and to ensure that the show must go on and revenue streams do not dry up overnight, practical plans must be drawn up now in haste. Constrained as we are by circumstances almost beyond our control, we are compelled to imagine the unimaginable and accept it. The parameters from the conference committee. This forum, being an international scientific conference and online, it is necessary to make references to the progress that has been made in the field of virtual reality, VR, with respect to its application in an immersive theatrical experience. At the same time as we adhere to our central purpose, which is to consider theater's ability to preserve its ideological moorings, independence of thought, and permit fullest artistic liberties, we should be allowed to examine all the possible means of communication at our disposal. Our participants must be conversant with holography and holograms, as well as the fast emerging field of 3D printing and its diverse applications. While describing some of the present entertainment experiences available, one hopes to give a glimpse of further possibilities in the not too distant future. As we are here to brainstorm on how to find a way forward, we can all freely gaze into our imaginary crystal balls to see how things may evolve. In extrapolating upon the developments that are in current use, or those that may have been envisaged by a few of the true visionaries amongst us, we second guess the trends that may prevail tomorrow. This might be the realm of science fiction today, but as so often happens, is at times so predictive that it actually turns into science fact. The chilling vision of the impact of technological advance, mass communication, and the monitoring and total control of human beings in the landmark texts of Aldous Huxley's Brave New World and George Orwell's 1984 were quite prophetic and prescient about our times, especially when the events so obviously unfolding before our very eyes make us feel quite uneasy that Big Brother may already have taken over the reins of power. Can we forestall such a grim future by universalizing arts, democratizing their accessibility to all who want to contribute or participate in the creative process, while also providing safeguards that human thought and debate will remain forever unfettered and free? The virtual options to explore. At the moment, we already have some models of theatrical experience which rely on the use of props like 3D goggles, virtual reality or VR helmets, and tactile sensor interfaces. As Catherine Wu has written, unlike most other VR experiences, Immersive Vr Theater allows audience members to interact inside of VR in real time with both performers and physical objects to create a sense of deep immersion and presence. This is no solo isolation endeavor. Participants typically enter a real physical set that maps to what they're observing inside the VR goggles. Why mix immersive theater and virtual reality? Mary Jourdain, creative director at DV Group, said that from a desire to push...
Mr. Solih,
oh, sorry.
Do you have only 1 minute, okay?
Okay.
Excuse me.
So basically, the cutting edge technology allows experiments to have real-time body animation of avatars that can be presented to the user in the headset. So basically, I'll go to the next point, which is that we can use holograms. There was a much hyped Michael Jackson holographic dance display on stage, which cost a small fortune to produce and has left an indelible memory in the mind's eye of audiences throughout the world. Everyone expected that such acts would continue to grow, but because of their low cost effectiveness, this has not transpired yet. 3D printing and its application to theater. With 3D printing, one expects that characters will be created on stage using techniques of holography, and we can share the platform to merge 3D printing and already change the way stop motion animated films are produced. Sporting events can also be used. The kind of format that they use, maybe we can go into stadiums ourselves. So where do we go from here? After an overview of the trends that are converging in most spectator events, one can ask, what does the future hold for us? In seeking that answer, we truly embark on an imaginative trip to explore what is possible, akin to a flight of fancy. Will we remain stuck in a dystopian world functioning on a level just above that of automatons, or will our spirits soar to the skies and our creativity become as endless as the opportunities we can possibly imagine? I choose to believe the latter, and that is precisely why I will make an attempt to share my vision with you. I imagine a day when your holographic avatar will be transported to a theater seat in any auditorium of your choice, or even the largest possible stadium filled to capacity, to witness in real time an enactment of your most loved performance with your favorite cast, or even legends who may no longer be alive, portrayed by a 3D printed holographic robot-like character on stage. The possibilities are endless. There could be some real live actors there too. I imagine that all the seats will be similarly occupied by holographic avatars of all those who would have booked seats to this particular show. And you could, if you so wish, turn to your co-attendee and have a conversation about the play or any other topic during the interval. I imagine that there will even be a running commentary available explaining the storyline and finer points of plot, and even have recourse to getting some critical input from, say, a representative of your International Union of Theatre Critics to get a better perspective if need be. I also imagine that with the pervasive application of 5G technology, and who knows, 6G or even 7G someday, all humans on the planet will be interconnected with what they call the Internet of Things, where all gadgets, appliances, vehicles, and homes will be synced, and thoughts, experiences, and knowledge will be transmissible instantaneously. In such a smart world, the performance you are attending may be simultaneously shared by millions of people.
Your time is finished, okay?
Okay, I just want to give my last sentence.
Last sentence.
Last word.
Okay.
And so finally,
yes,
I imagine, or dare we imagine together, that the dystopian futuristic society known as the world state and Huxley's Brave New World, one that just revolves around science and efficiency, can be avoided. Can we hope that little brother or the common man will be able to curb the totalitarian control and dominance of the Orwellian big brother and somehow persuade him to accept the validity of our most basic fundamental rights and freedoms? Can we somehow evolve into a more humane civilization wherein our humanity is valued more, our creativity truly nurtured, and allowed free individual expression in thought and artistic originality? Can each of our unique abilities or qualities be valued regardless of our capability, given respect and cherished just for that fact alone, that we are alive and a vital part of the whole, every single one of us having some innate worth? We must believe in these values and work towards ensuring that this will be the kind of brave new tomorrow that the generations which follow us must surely inherit. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And now, Saeed Kazemi from Iran is teacher of Lamy University, Azad University. His report title is Social Networks and the Viewers of Future Theatre. Mr. Saeed, please share your thoughts about the conference topic.
Okay, hello, thank you, and nice to meet you. My article about the social networks and the viewers of future theater. Change in today's world is increasingly rapid. Every moment we are faced with the latest thoughts leading to a more attractive life. Life and lifestyle have been overshadowed by technology as well as. In the case of the current study, social networks, information management, educating, and communication have a new meaning, which has resulted in developing a new attitude toward the comprehension of the world around us. In the meaning, theater as a public art, which is closely related to life, cannot be separate from social condition and people's way of life. Indeed, are the social networks able to develop and innovative form of performance for viewers? What are the possibilities of the two? In the article, the author tries to descriptively study the possibility of the theater of social networks informing a part of future theaters. The number of people who are using a mobile phone outrun the number of people who have easy access to facilities such as fresh water, electricity, or decent roads. Access to social media, even the time of a war or a famine, is easier than access to some basic needs such as drinking water and food. The range of mobile phones and social media's capabilities has contributed to bringing people from all around the world together. Everyone is informed of even the most ordinary events. Mere luxurious life with no access, the new does not satisfy people's desire and excitement. Social networks poses an influential role in educating and informal people. Social networks find their presences in people's everyday life, even in the farther areas and the most impoverished town and villages. But there is no track of the theater that used to be customs and ceremonies of people in the past. However, theater has been untouched with the current change, remaining in a single role which it has played for many years. After thousands of years, theater is still in its childhood and no revolutionary change have occurred. Many changes which have taken place in the theories, if they were such as Beckett and Stanislavski, are in the direction of change related to the interrelation between theater and viewers. In the world theater map, a small town and village are provided with no opportunity to be seen, or even the disabled in advanced community encounter number of enormous difficulty. When wishing to see a play, the elderly and the youth are also deprived of the facility to see a play. Thus, can theater increase the number of viewers? Can theater be mediated? Future logists in all advanced countries have already attempted to investigate and predict how technology can alter our contemporary life. Likewise, theater needs to attempt to change the way it is seen by the viewers now. Lupaj, long time ago, he said, Lupaj referred to interactivity of the spectators of cinema and television. He said, our performing work are like telling a story with obsolete techniques, as we consider the audiences as retarded and those who own only this technique to understand the theater. However, the fact is the theater fans have greatly processed. They watch television and know the concept of jump cuts. If we don't provide them with a film, they will grow weary. Utilizing new techniques, theater as a democratic art can provide spectators with equal opportunities all around the world. While the contemporary theater goers have experienced a new taste working with the new forms of media, the theater of future using social networks can effectively communicate with millions of fans. This would result in not only making the theater attractive in the theater's salon, but also empowering theater to get into fans and people's mobile phones. Indeed, this innovation poses the potential to form new possibility for theater and introduce new forms of performing art. First function could be live broadcasting as a mutual future of theater and social medias. Developing a valuable mechanism toward actualizing the trend will attract more new audiences as well as providing opportunity for fans in the farthest places. Theater of future can be named theater of social network of theater online. Thank you so much for your patience.
Oh, sorry, thank you very much for interesting speech. And now Mr. Zaid Guleyev from Turkey, PhD, Head of Department of Performing Arts Management at the University of Nizantasi, will present his article titled Theater, Transmedia Analysis of Online Theater Narrative.
Yes. Hi everyone. First of all, I want to thank for Union of International Theater Critics, because the period of COVID-19 is to create a very different situation, and I want to speak about the space of the theater. And we know that the space or empty space, the active of the theater process, and of course traditional theater think that the space must be full of body. Now we must change our position about it, because the cyberspace and new media is influencing every part of the culture, and first we have not any problem in this context, but painting or storytelling can find new model and the narrative forms and this field. And for example, the storytelling can be turned off the digital storytelling or cross-media storytelling or the transmedia storytelling. But theater is very different discipline, and we think that so that theater is very different and niche discipline. And first of all, of course, during this period, we see that every theater try to find this cyber or discipline digital space, but when they start to look for new narrative form, and they could be like archive worker. But we must think that when theater try to be looking for a new area, this is not limited with share the old record or old record of the play, because if start to think about it, and we exactly start discussion, or we must start to research over the theoretical element. Of course, this is not like the traditional theater. But this is like the new form of the art, and every period of the time, the narrative form is changed, and every new form takes some piece of the old forms. And now we must think that the theater can be find new form or not, because I think that in this period is very important element and is very important problem in the hair, because every day is theater practice and theater environment is changed, and for this reason every play must to influence to the audience, but the environment or the connection with the audience, the process is changed. We must think that between the theater and the audience have the computer. And of course, today we understand that the theater can take, for example, new act method, or theater must take the new act, theater must to learn the method of the new act. And of course, because we know the empty space, which about this perspective of the Peter Brook is for the Peter Brook is not the space, is only the physical space. Yes, actors have a lot of performance at the empty space, but this performance must to reach audience, spectator, viewer. But in this context, you must think that the new audience or new to spectator or new viewer and which, because after the new method, for example, we look to via the computer to the end play, our ability change our ability, and of course this is the different type of perspective. And first, we must ask that this person is spectator, audience, or viewer, because every practice is very different activated. But this problem is there generally, and every person knows it. But I think that the narrative form is everyday change via the technology, because the technology influences our daily life. And we know that today first term is the transmedia or the cross media. Okay, first of all, I want to take from the piece of the Henry Jenkins, and Henry Jenkins described the transmedia storytelling, what this means, or the narrative form of the transmedia. And Henry Jenkins said that the transmedia storytelling represents a process where integral elements of the fiction get dispersed systematically across multiple delivery channels for the purpose of creating a unified and coordinated entertainment experience. Ideally, each medium makes its own unique contribution to the unfolding of the story. Then we must think that theater can create own content via the computer, but this is not share all the theater play. This is different discipline, and every group of the theater must to create new content for audience, which they try to get experience of the theater via the computer. For example, digital theater, term of the digital theater, I want to say about this. And for example, digital theater is years ago, there were several similar terms being used, but digital theater is not in common use. Since then, the term has been seen with more frequency describing theatrical performances, which are both live and mediated. Digital theater doesn't exist in a vacuum, but in relation to other terminology, it is a type of digital performance, and may accommodate many types of the live mediated theater, including, for example, virtual reality theater and computer theater, also which involve specific type of computer media, live performance, story words, and limited levels of interactivity. And however, terms such as for example, how terms such as the desktop theater using animated computer avatars in online chat room without co-present audiences falls outside digital theater into the larger category of digital performance. And likewise, digital dance may fall outside the parameters if it doesn't contain elements of story or spoken words. Additional related terms, including, for example, cyborg theater or cyber theater or digital mediated performance, immediately and visual theater. And the term is the change, of course, every time. And but we think about this problem positive perspective. For example, digital theater is a hybrid art form of creative potential, gaining strengths from theater's ability to facilitate imagination and create human connections, and digital technology ability to extend to reach of communication and visualization. The dual presence of the live, actor, and mediated digital elements creates performance events which allow us to better understand, respond to, and shape our changing world, both on stage and beyond the theater building. And of course, I think that every time the practice or the influence these processes change, especially after the COVID-19, this practice start to change, and every person start to think about this problem. But we know that until the end, today and until the nowadays, we experience and we saw that, for example, digital installation or digital performance. Yes, this activity is part of the theater, especially after the postmodern era. But after COVID-19,
sorry. You have only 1 minute, okay? Do you have only 1 minute? Okay. Thank you.
And of course, for example, digital theater provides a sense, a dialogue between the individual body and that of the other. It is through the actor on stage that we reflect upon and begin to know aspects of ourselves, and the other body present in audience create a temporary social contact while involving digital media, creating a digital other, better help us conceptualize ourselves in relation to our evolving computerized lives. And finally, I think that every theater must find a new way for digital stage. The problem is not about watching the game at home if it is not in the theater building. The problem is also about how are affected by it while watching the game. And watching a game in theater building creates a different aspect in the real environment. We are gaining new experience on which the inclusion of technology in our lives. And of course, I know that my time is limited, and for this reason, I don't want to take your time out of. And finally, I say that I hope that after some period of the time, every theater can find new method or. But we must understand that today, which, for example, we share the old record via the computer. This is only the part of the transmedia. This is not the digital theater or visual reality theater. And for this reason, I think that every theater must find the new method of the art via this for new area or for the new digital space. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And now, Mr. Tarlan Rasulov from Azerbaijan, theater director, founder of Dom Theater. The title of his report is Classification Problems in the Performing Area. Mr. Tarlan.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me properly? I think, okay. I'd like to thank you, organizational committee of the conference, also all previous speakers. I found out they just showed very interesting point of view, different point of view, and they wanted just to catch the future plans for the theater development. And yes, I think that this pandemic, this very tiny microbe just changed everything. And of course, our history will be divided into two parts, before and after coronavirus, perhaps. And in the human history, there were a lot of events and cataclysms which were considered as the most tragic and unbearable conditions. But the current situation gets into the danger of almost all fields, including entertainment fields, let alone performing arts. And the perspectives and future vision of that field urges all theater practitioners for beginning new ways to reach their audience. And I think in a short time after this, again, everyone will begin to think about the death of theater, just to proclaim. And I think, and again, the theater will arise and grow and find new ways. Perhaps in another way, and probably not so soon. Anyway, we definitely can say that unlike commercial theater systems such as Broadway or West End in our countries, represent different countries all over the world, the theater study and theater criticism isn't able to make an active role in theater development process. We should confess this. Because despite a positive or negative review about any play, tickets for that performance would have been sold anyway, and audience would applause. We should confess that nowadays theater study isn't a tool which can influence the theater development, and it has only one task: to observe and state current situation. I'd like to touch this subject because we have now to discuss the theory part of the theater process, because the practice, I am both a practitioner and theorist in theater field, and I think that is only just quarantine. We can just, every practitioner will find his own way to to make a development of something theater performances. And pandemic situation disclosed a number of problems in all areas, beginning from economy and medical care to education system and food industry. But we shouldn't mark this case as failure, but as a renovation, especially for theater study. I think that theater study has begun its new phase, and that phase may have been noted as beginning from zero level of forming this field as a true science with its toolkit, criteria, categories, etc. And of course, as other sciences, theater study has to make its classification. First of all, it should be defined the term of classification. The classification is a process related to categorization, the process in which ideas and objects are recognized, differentiated, and understood. We can't say that in the theater study all these features have been specified. As a result, here there are a number of speculation, inaccuracy, and different interpretation for one subject. The whole point of classifying objects in any areas is to achieve certainty, systematization, and ordering of accumulated facts, knowledge, concepts for further study and development of this area. Classification is necessary to study the variety of phenomena, properties, factors, etc. It helps to determine the content of phenomenon or problem to give an impetus to development of field of activity. Theater study is not only a field which has classification problems. Can name such scientific areas where during last decade there were observed a lot of change in both directions. For instance, in biology, strawberry is sorted as a tuber, like a potato, while tomato suddenly transformed from vegetable into fruit. We can take Pluto, which was declared as a planet and afterwards became a trans-Neptunian object. Then at last it was announced as Plutoid dwarf planet. And no one can guarantee that it wouldn't recognize as an asteroid in the future. In theater study can observe almost the same situation, and this is a result of absence of the exact categories, criteria, differentiation. All features that theater critics use for analyzing either mostly are taken from literature criticism or from the works of prominent theater practitioners. That's why there can be encountered some mistakes in the estimating of performances, methods, etc. For example, everyone knows about traditional Chinese opera. You can find a lot of scientific works dedicated to this theater, and here you can face the problem of definition of this theater. Is Chinese opera another theater form or genre? Perhaps it's a form of musical theater. Then it should be considered as the same as Liederspiel theater, genre or form. Then how should we consider more than 350 forms of Chinese opera, which can differ from each other by the acting technique, singing props, stage design? Is commedia dell'arte another theater form, or is it just a genre of comedy theater? How shall we consider the Karagöz shadow theater? It's a marionette theater genre or distinct theater form? And what is the theater form and how it differs from theater kind? What is the exact difference between form and genre relative to play or other literature source? As we can conclude, there is a road of questions without precise answers. And from this point, theater study may begin its renovation and development as proper science form revision from its categories, criteria, and classification. That's all.
Next speech.
Emilia Dimensova.
Hello to all the participants of the conference. I hope all of you are in good health, and I want to thank you all of the organizers of the conference for this really important and necessary initiative. Unfortunately, during the preparation for the conference, the coronavirus intervened in the life of my family, so today I cannot be with you online, but I decided to record a short video for you. I hope that later I will have an opportunity to get acquainted with all of their reports, because all of the topics are very interesting and important in my opinion. You can find my thoughts, my short abstract of my report on coronavirus in theater in my article for the Theater Times website. I think you can find the link of this article on the pages of the organizers of the conference. And now I would like to say a few words about the role of the directors in this new situation that we faced. So there are some terminological difficulties involved with defining the status of the theater directors nowadays. You know that the logic of the theater criticism argues with the logic of the language, in which the words author, storyteller, creator of the play can mean both the author of the text and the director. So, in theater criticism today, we need to highlight a special new classification of the directors whose will and purpose are spread to all the elements of their performance, even their online performance, and so on and so forth. So, film critic Andrew Cyrus many years ago offered a system of the concentric circles to define the concept of auteur or author. The inner circle indicates the level of the technical skills and basic competences. So a great director has to at least be a good director. The middle circles, it's the director's personal style. And the outer circle, as defined by Cyrus, characterizes the presence of the interior meaning. So most directors today and before don't advance beyond the first round, which doesn't deprive them of the title of the professional. Some of their colleagues are stuck in the middle circle, so they can be called stylists. And only a few manage to reach the third circle and earn the right to be named author. In one of his lectures, Andrew Cyrus casually mentioned the term neo-author along with the term post-author, not given the definition, however, but fixing that, according to his feelings, there is a change in tectonic plates in the approach to art. When people were tired of modernism, at one time, it was replaced by post and neo-modernism. Post-author theater and cinema all primarily focus on the technology of creating a film of performance. The definition of the post-authorism has been actively used in literature dedicated to the outstanding directors who have overcome their previous concept of the director-auteur. So we can find this term, the post-authorism, in the monograph about the Baz Luhrmann, Werner Herzog, David Lynch. For example, one of the Lynch's latest projects took the form of the live streaming concert with the unprecedented level of the audience participation. And the audience became a co-author and designer of the project, and participants had the opportunity to choose camera viewing angles and also could upload the images to project into the background of the stage space. And this project secured Lynch a post-author status. In 2015, within the framework of the International Cultural Forum in St. Petersburg, a discussion took place about the author theater, and the concept of the post-author directors was also mentioned, but it was mentioned as a kind of situation in which a director, when director transfer a significant part of his rights to a composer, set designer, choreographer, etc. An example of the post-author theater was the case of the Valery Fokin's Masquerade, in which the director co-authored Всеволод Meyerhold, as if extending his author's production. So it was suggested that the theater of the post-author or co-author be understood as a situation in which a modern director or a playwright becomes a co-author of a classic, and based on his work or director's script, creates his own play or performance with elements of theatrical reconstruction. In my opinion, the term post-authorism is not entirely successful. Firstly, because post-authorism speaks about the posthumous character of contemporary authorship, extracted from the text of Roland Barthes and Michel Foucault. And secondly, this definition is already used in musicology, where it denotes a special type of modern non-composer music, for example, techno music and electronic music. The post-author theater puts the personality of the director-author in the background, putting the collective nature of the work to create a film or performance or online project, as today, at the forefront. So today the director exists in another social-cultural formation. That's why the concept of neo-author theater or cinema may become appropriate to describe a new approach to directing as a characteristic of the contemporary cultural situation. The neo-authorism approach suggests that the director, in addition to the film or performance, creates a certain added value. Directors are fully involved today in the advertising process to promote their performances through the social networks, the media, participating in the festivals, lecturing, and other forms of public presentation and promotion. So, author has become a marketing category, a label that is actively and not always deservedly assigned or distributed to directors. Anglo-American critics pay attention to such signs of authorship in the credits or on the posters, such as film by or performance by, and this is a kind of trophy, you know, and in such situations authorship turns out to be nothing more than a category of status in the hierarchy of social values, and it's an element of packaging of their performance today. So a director who is recognized as neo-author is considered in the following ways. As the starting point of the idea of a performance, as an individual, as an element of the performance of the film team, as a complex of distinctive features, we can say, and as a reason for discourse, and as a marketing strategy today, and maybe as a special type of self-presentation, special technique of self-presentation. I will try to highlight the main distinguishing features that characterizes the neo-author today. So the first of all, it's the work. The director neo-author must produce a significant amount of the work in which his author's personality will be demonstrated. So the process of the actual creation shouldn't be endowed with the halo of sacredness, because you know some theater makers and filmmakers deliberately maintain faith in their uniqueness and authenticity, proclaiming their approach to director intuitive and inexpressible. So it seems sometimes that many theater and film professionals believe that their works like cutlets. If they are liked, then it's better not to see them being made. So the second element is the artistic control. So director neo-author must have full artistic control over his work. The neo-author doesn't deprive the authors of the fragments and the elements of the performance of the authorship, but combining and transforming these elements creates a new work imbued with his director's personality, will, purpose, and individuality. The next one, it's the in the neo-author's approach, puts in the field of the research attention not only the personality of the author, but also a complex picture of his relationships, and the context is not less important than the director's intentions. So the neo-author's approach focuses attentions not only on the value of the piece of art, but on the value of the experience of interacting with it. Whether it is a communication situation or a search situation of connections between the literary basis and the form of the performance, for example. And the last one, but not the least, is the process. So, and this is the main difference from the original author theory of the beginning of the 20th century. So the neo-author's approach is characterized by attention not only to the result of the activity of the director, but also to the period of existence and development of his work, as well as the influence of the artistic values of the work on the formation of the culture of the society. So the phenomenon of the neo-author certainly raises additional questions, like any new cultural phenomenon, and yet this is not simply the game of the words and the concepts. This definition is important not only from the point of view of the art history and theater studies, but also from the jurisprudence, because the fact is that from the point of view of the Russian law, for example, the director doesn't hold legal copyright, and the author denotes exclusively the author only of the literary basis of the performance. I'm still continuing my research in this area, and I don't seek to prove and categorically outline the phenomenon that is developing in front of our very eyes. After all of us know that each new day constructs theater anew, tunes it in a new key and to a new emotional wave. Therefore, ultimately, the spectator remains the main author of the performance, not in the sense of the theater studies, of course, but in an everyday sense. So without a viewer, the theater loses its meaning and loses itself. However, this conference proves that, fortunately enough for all of us, nothing looks set to threaten theater. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Mrs. Elena. Now we have time to discussion about our topic, and who want to start? Hello. Vasha charte mikrofoni, gesmis chemi khma.
I have a question to the Monica about your report, and you just maybe I missed something, and have you said that you just offer to use the social networks for theater performances or not?
Yeah.
And how do you see this?
Oscar, ¿quieres responder algo?
Yes, yes. Can you repeat the question, please?
Oh, yeah. Okay. You said that you offered to use the social networks for making performances. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. And how do you see this? Or can just plan this as an example?
Yes, well, in Mexico, there are a lot of, government institutes. They call for artists to make monologues or to make small theater plays, like in this format, like via Zoom or via Facebook or via something like this. They call for plays, to write plays. Actually, we in our company we are writing one, and it's a whole new process for us. But it's kind of an investigation with puppets or with little elements that this kind of approach provides us, you know. Also, Monica talked about another platforms like TikTok or Instagram, which are not properly for like theater plays, like for long format, but a very short time lapse performances, maybe like this thing, you know. It's a performative thing that you can do very shortly. And you can do for a lot of people, but maybe you cannot give a long message. It's something more visual. It's something more like, performative. It's not a message.
Of course, this is temporal.
We are puppeteers too, so we are working on making small videos with company characters on platforms such as TikTok. Videos, short videos with the
I know TikTok. Yeah.
Okay.
That's
Oscar have a puppet, and that's the way that we are investigating for make a performance online.
Of course, you realize that these are only temporal solution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, it's temporal.
But that would be an opportunity to make new formats and forms for future theater performances, live performance, I mean.
Yes, it's temporal and it's in the meantime. But yeah, it offers a lot of solutions for real theatrical work, you know.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, Christina Matvienko asked to everyone, may I ask somebody from different countries, are there some ways of supporting those artists who doesn't get salary from the state theaters? Any ways of supporting?
Of course, she means the independent theaters.
Yes.
I think that in different countries there are some state programs for supporting during the quarantine and the pandemic period, and it depends on the states, it depends on the governments. here in Azerbaijan, if you are some you have your own company, and if you just made some income last year, and you gave your employees some salary, you can just apply to government, particularly to the taxes department, just to support you during this this period of self-isolation, and they can just consider this, and perhaps they can help just by getting you the exact amount of salaries for your employees. I can't say that only for Azerbaijan. I don't know about other countries.
About Iran, after pandemic, I can say government support artistic people with the insurance. Government pay 3 months for 3 months pay insurance, and if one of the artists can apply about the land, you can get a land from government. First decide for artists or about a theater, and they decide about 2 things. One, they pay for 3 months insurance, and 2, they pay land for artists in Iran. I think after 1 month, maybe change the decide, and they support everything about artists in Iran. I can say about this matter.
In Mexico, artists were different calls by the government, but there is not resources. So we in Artefactum, for example, have an infrastructure that allows us to be self-sufficient. We have a performance of giant puppets with which we will begin to do street shows. That show don't imply that people congregate in the street. People can see the puppets from their window, but the government is not paying for that work.
Yeah, about that, with these puppets, what we try with going to streets, which is a little bit risky right now also, but there's a way to, I mean, that's a way to get to the people, and maybe they can support us as artists, like, you know, like street artists, like people in red lights, like people in places, in, you know, it's a way that we can go near those people, trying not to risk them a lot, because we have these giant puppets, so we can go in the middle of the street, and they can watch us all, and another person can go and knock the door and, you know, drop the hat, and that's it. That's a support for us, but that's because we're independent company.
Thank you. I think Mrs. Christina Matvienko, she say thank you for everyone. Yes.
Sorry, I want to speak about this matter, the theater online. Around 2050, I have one of the speaks about theater and social networks in Baku conference. And before pandemic, I have got one of the experiment about theater and social media and theater online in Japan. And I want to share this with you, and if you want, and we can discussion about this matter, because I think in the future, we need this matter all of the time. I want to know all of the participants agree with the social media or agreement with the theater online or not. You think theater online has got a good effect for spectators or no? I'm happy if you can come conversation about this matter. About the effect of the theater online for spectators.
Yes, I think it's yes.
I'm sorry, can I speak about it?
Yes.
First of all, I think that of course today the change the narrative forms, and for this reason, for example, old tradition, for example, theater spectator view the normal play, and of course they influence the nation, and because they have the body and the relation of space. But when change the space, the connection via the computer, not the natural connection. And after this period, of course, I think that they changed their influence practical, and of course, on the other hand, today have the new. I think that today this new period, and after the some period, the person start to, for example, learn or start to make the very normal connection. But on the other hand, I think that, for example, after this COVID-19, everything is turned the normal period, and of course we now learn the new practice from this period. But every time that I care about it, that the theater can find the new area from the online area or computer theater, virtual or cyberspace from the in this cyberspace, because I think that a very important problem in this context. If we can find the cyberspace very normal and new form, yes, we can say that after COVID-19 theater is changed another direction. If we cannot find, of course, it will be like, say, there's some part of the time only the old record sharing via the computer. Because I speak about my presentation, in there, for example, transmedia is very important thing. Because the term of the transmedia, if the share or normal sharing the old record, it is like the movie, watching any movie or anything content. But the theater practice is different. Now that, for example, Aristotle said catharsis, if the person is not to practice this process via the computer or new method, it will not like I think that new form theater. It will like looking at any content. I think so.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you for everyone.
May I ask you?
Yes. Okay.
I can't say that I agree with you, but it's because the theater is not a matter of narrative or just content. Just like all in other fields and areas, not relative to the theater. For example, just food industry. I mean, for example, just restaurants, which are closed, all of them now. And after the period, if they will just open, as in Europe, just in some conditions to make the distance between couples of sitting at the table, and then in restaurants, in exactly food industry, just will realize that the restaurant, for example, is not just eating by at the table. It's just communication.
Yes.
And they will feel the lack of the clients, customers, just because they will have to make some distance, about 2 meters, and we will see that I think that theater, not only theater, every area, entertainment field, I like the, even just in the cinema, museums, and everywhere, they have to find new ways, new form, not losing their how to say the core. That's the very, and it will take a time just to trying to make experiments in that way.
Okay, thank you. If you someone have some questions to each other, please do it. If not, okay. We completed the work of our section, and I would like to thank once again the conference organizers and conference partners, and to you, the participants, and I say goodbye to everyone with hope of a better future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you.
Spasiba, shukran. Gracias.
Gracias. Thank you. Gmadlo.
Adiós a todos.
Gmadlo.
Khuda Hafiz.
Khuda Hafiz.